The geopolitical chessboard, Iran, the West, and the shifting balance of power. The installation and subsequent removal of the Shah of Iran by the United States and Britain serve as a prime example of Western interventionism in the Middle East. These actions were not just about Iran itself, but were part of a broader strategy to control the region's vast oil reserves and maintain a strategic balance against competing powers like Saudi Arabia and other Arab nations. The fall of the Shah and the rise of Ayatollah Khomeini were not organic events but carefully orchestrated moves by the CIA and MI6, demonstrating the extent to which intelligence agencies shape global politics behind the scenes. The Western role in Khomeini's rise. During the 1970s, Paris became a hub for political exiles, including Khomeini, who was granted protection and eventually flown to Iran to assume leadership. This move, executed with the tacit approval of Western intelligence agencies, was not an ideological shift but a calculated play to establish a regime that would serve Western interests under a different guise. While publicly advocating for a theocratic Iran, Khomeini's ascent ensured continued leverage over Iran's resources and regional influence. The French miscalculation. France, like the United States, has long sought to secure lucrative contracts through its alliances with foreign leaders. French support for Khomeini was not purely ideological but a pragmatic attempt to gain economic advantages, including arms sales such as the Mirage fighter jets and infrastructure projects like Tehran's subway. However, once Khomeini consolidated power, France found itself sidelined, offered nothing in return for its services. This pattern of geopolitical miscalculations has plagued French foreign policy, often leaving them outmaneuvered by more dominant players like the United States. The role of intelligence agencies. The assassination of Chessboard, a former prime minister and a potential alternative to Khomeini, further underscores the intricate web of intelligence operations at play. The French DGSI, formerly the DST, carried out the execution, but such a move would have required at least tacit approval from the CIA. The West's willingness to eliminate potential leaders in favor of those who serve their strategic interests is a recurring theme in global politics, reinforcing the notion that sovereign governance is often an illusion in geopolitically significant nations. The broader strategy, Saddam Hussein and Afghanistan. Similar tactics were deployed with Saddam Hussein in Iraq and with Afghanistan, where chaos was deliberately fostered to maintain regional counterbalances. Saddam was initially supported and financed by the CIA and MI6, only to be later turned into a villain when his role no longer served Western interests. The US and Britain armed him during the Iran-Iraq War, only to ultimately remove him through military intervention, leaving Iraq in perpetual instability. Likewise, Afghanistan was manipulated through the funding of Mujahideen fighters, which later evolved into long-term chaos and conflict, all orchestrated to ensure a fragmented Middle East that could be controlled more easily. These covert operations exemplify how Western powers use instability as a tool to extend influence. The Erdogan factor, a calculated balancing act. A similar pattern can be observed in Turkey, where President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has played a complex role in regional geopolitics. While publicly positioning himself as a staunch opponent of the West, often invoking Ottoman revivalist rhetoric, Erdogan has simultaneously maintained close ties with the United States and Israel. His recent maneuvers in Syria have notably aligned with Israel's broader strategy for regional dominance, particularly in advancing the concept of Greater Israel. By leveraging nationalist sentiments at home while cooperating with key Western powers, Erdogan has managed to secure economic and strategic benefits, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of realpolitik. The changing global landscape. Historically, France and the United States have competed for arms deals and major infrastructure contracts in the Middle East. However, the geopolitical landscape has shifted dramatically with the rise of China and Turkey as major players. China's Belt and Road Initiative has positioned it as a dominant force in global infrastructure, while Turkey has leveraged its strategic location and expanding defense industry to gain influence in key regions. As a result, Western dominance in the Middle East is no longer unchallenged. Conclusion. The manipulation of Iran's leadership transition in the late 20th century highlights the enduring strategies employed by Western powers to control resource-rich nations. However, as new geopolitical actors emerge, the old playbook of regime change and economic coercion faces increasing resistance. The coming decades will likely see a more multipolar world, where traditional Western powers must adapt to a landscape where they are no longer the sole arbiters of global order.